Hello, my name is Rebecca Malsin, and this is my capstone. My client was United Way of Monterey County, as represented by Fatima Diaz, who's here in the audience. Hi, Fatima. My advisor was Bobby Long. Traditionally in the visual design emphasis, usually our capstones are graphic identity packages where you start off with the logo and then you build all these other marketing materials off of the logo you started out with, and you make a graphic standards guide and things like that. I did a different kind of capstone. United Way already has a logo. It is a really great logo by Saul Bass, and I wasn't going to mess with perfection, and they wouldn't want me to. So what I did instead was they had a lot of smaller projects that they wanted me to do over the year. So one of those things was some of their logos they already had already that didn't actually quite fit with the branding guidelines, or just had things they wanted to change. Like, for instance, the volunteer center, it wasn't, the logo wasn't supposed to have the United Way logo in it. That's against the branding guidelines. You can't put their logo into another logo. And so did that. With Stuff the Bus, another CSU and B student a couple years ago made the logo for them, and they really liked the bus, but they didn't like the text, so I fixed the text. That was one of the projects. They also have this program every year called VITA, which they do voluntary income tax assistance for people in Monterey County, and they needed people to use it more, and so one of the things I did was I developed a marketing campaign for them. And one of the third things they needed help with was there's this thing going on called the Community Assessment for Monterey County, and it didn't have a logo at the time I started my capstone, and Fatima wanted me to design a couple logos she could take with her to the steering committee to offer up. Some other people also did that, but those are my logos down there. The solution to all of these problems and for a couple other tasks they gave me were I revised the volunteer center and the Stuff About This logos like you saw on the previous slide. I made a lot of material for VITA, a lot, and I ended up making them a little sheet explaining what I had done for the marketing campaign so they can reuse it next year. I made a brochure for the CalWorks program. I did 3 different community assessment logos for them to bring to the steering committee, and I also added the Live United tagline to their the local branches logos, because that's part of the big United Way logo, but it hadn't been added to the United Way Monterey County logo. So over the course of my project, I followed the standard design process as taught by Bobby Long. I started with research and ideation. Ideation is coming up with ideas. I did thumbnails and larger sketches. Those are the thumbnails up there. And I made initial designs that I revised and revised and revised until I could get final designs. And afterwards, I evaluated it as this went along by having my classmates and by having Fatima and having everyone else at Fatima's office look over my designs and give me feedback. And another way which the project was evaluated at the end was when we got the reports back about how well the VITA campaign had gone, and it went very well. We had 125% participation of their actual goals. So it went pretty well. So the tools that I used were one of them was the official United Way brand guidelines, which Fatima gave me. This book was my Bible. I had it in my messenger bag from August to May, and it never left as I was taking it out to look things up. It was very important to me. I also used the Adobe Creative Suite programs, CS4 in my case, InDesign, Illustrator, and Photoshop were the ones I used the most. What I learned from my capstone project, one thing I learned was working within strict company branding guidelines, because I'd done things for my job before, where it was basing off other people's material, but I'm not kidding when I say that United Way has very strict branding guidelines, and I mean, it's good that they have strict guidelines because it helps keep everything consistent and look really great. But I never had such strict guidelines to work with, but I'm glad I did. It was a good challenge. I also learned how to do revisions with very little turnaround, because sometimes I'd send something to Fatima and she's like, okay, you need to change this and this and this. Can you have it tomorrow, or can you have it in 2 days? And as a student, I'm used to having the whole week because our teachers give us weekly assignments. So it was an interesting challenge to just have a couple days and to find time to fit that in. And I learned a lot about project management, and I have to thank Bobby for that because she helped all of us with project management. Anyway, thank you for your interest in my capstone. I'll be in room 110 for the poster session, and before I leave the podium, I'd like once again to thank Fatima for her help and her encouragement, and for being a really great client, and for Bobby for being a really great advisor. Thank you.